In the year 500 BC, one empire ruled nearly half of the world's population. Not Rome, not Greece, not China. It was the Persian Empire. How did a small, rugged land in modern-day Iran rise to control territories from India to Egypt? Without modern weapons, without airplanes, without the internet, and still leave a legacy that shapes the world today? And here's the real question. Why was this ancient superpower so advanced that even its enemies secretly copied it? The Persian Empire matters because it wasn't just built on conquest. It was built on systems, on law, on tolerance, on intelligence. Empires before Persia ruled through fear. Empires after Persia ruled through imitation. What you're about to hear is not just a story of war, but of strategy, vision, and power so refined that it changed how civilizations are run forever. And it all begins with one man no one saw coming. Before Persia became an empire, it was nothing more than scattered tribes living on harsh, unforgiving land. Dry plains, rocky mountains, very little wealth. They were surrounded by giants. Babylon to the west, Lydia to the north, Egypt to the south. Persia should have been crushed. Instead, it produced Cyrus the Great. Cyrus wasn't born into luxury. He was raised among warriors, hunters, and shepherds. He learned discipline early, and when he rose to power around 559 BC, he didn't just want land. He wanted unity. Cyrus began conquering, but unlike other kings, he didn't burn cities to the ground. He didn't massacre populations for fear. He absorbed them. When he defeated the powerful kingdom of Lydia, he spared the king. When he captured Babylon, then the richest city on earth, he entered peacefully. No looting, no destruction. Instead, Cyrus did something unheard of. He freed enslaved people. He allowed religions to continue. He respected local customs. This policy wasn't weakness. It was genius. People didn't rebel against Cyrus. They welcomed him. But that's not the craziest part. Cyrus didn't just rule kindly. He institutionalized fairness. After his death, a clay cylinder was buried beneath Babylon. On it were words describing freedom of religion, protection of civilians, and equality before the law. Today, it's called the Cyrus Cylinder. Many historians consider it the world's first human rights charter. 2,000 years before modern democracy, Persia was already experimenting with tolerance as a weapon of stability. And this ideology allowed the empire to grow faster than any before it. But Cyrus didn't live to see Persia at its peak. That came under a ruler even more ambitious. When Darius the Great took the throne, Persia was already massive. But it was unstable, too large, too diverse. Darius didn't just conquer more land. He redesigned the empire. First, he divided Persia into provinces called satrapies. Each province had a governor, a military commander, and a tax collector, separate roles to prevent corruption. Then he standardized money. One currency, one economic system. He introduced a universal legal code. And for the first time in history, a truly global empire ran on bureaucracy, not chaos. But how do you control millions of people spread across thousands of miles? Darius had an answer. The Persians built the Royal Road, a highway stretching over 2,500 kilometers from Anatolia to Mesopotamia. Along it were relay stations, fresh horses, and guards. Messages could travel faster than any army. This was ancient logistics at its finest. Centuries later, the Romans would copy it. So would the Islamic caliphates. So would modern states. And the Persians didn't stop there. They created the world's first postal system. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor darkness stopped Persian messengers. That famous phrase, it comes from Persia. But for all its organization and intelligence, the empire faced a problem it couldn't ignore. The Greeks. To the west, small Greek city-states refused Persian rule. They were divided, quarrelsome, and confident. Darius tried diplomacy first, then force. The result was the Greco-Persian Wars, a clash that history often portrays as good versus evil. But reality was far more complex. Persia wasn't fighting to destroy Greece. It was fighting to stabilize its borders. At Marathon, Persian forces were shocked by Greek resistance. At Thermopylae, King Xerxes Darius's son faced the legendary stand of 300 Spartans. But here's what most stories leave out. Persia still won far more battles than it lost. It burned Athens. It controlled most of the Aegean. And it remained the dominant superpower for decades after. So why does history remember Persia as the loser? Because history was written by Greece, and later by Rome. But that's not the craziest part. Persia's true power wasn't its armies. It was integration. The empire included Egyptians, Babylonians, Jews, Medes, Phoenicians, Indians, and Greeks. Each kept their language, their gods, their traditions. Instead of forcing Persian culture, the empire absorbed the best ideas from everyone. Persian kings wore Elamite robes, used Babylonian astronomy, employed Egyptian engineers, and relied on Greek doctors. This wasn't chaos. It was calculated diversity. And it worked. For over 200 years, Persia remained stable, something almost no empire before or after achieved. But even the strongest systems face cracks. And Persia's greatest threat came from an unexpected place. In the west, a young Macedonian king was watching. His name was Alexander. Alexander didn't hate Persia. He admired it. He studied Persian administration. He copied Persian dress. He even claimed to be the rightful successor of Persian kings. When Alexander invaded, Persia wasn't weak, but it was stretched. Internal rivalries, court intrigue, overconfidence. At the Battle of Gaugamela, the Persian army outnumbered Alexander's forces. Yet Alexander won through speed, deception, and precise timing. The fall of Persepolis followed a symbolic end to the empire. But Persia didn't vanish. It transformed. Alexander died young. His empire fractured, but Persian culture outlived him. Persian administrators continued running states. Persian ideas shaped Islamic governance centuries later. Persian art, architecture, and poetry influenced Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Even today, concepts like centralized government, religious tolerance, standardized law, and global infrastructure trace back to Persia. The empire didn't just conquer land. It conquered time. So what is the real legacy of the Persian Empire? It proved that power doesn't have to mean brutality. That control can come from cooperation. That diversity, when managed intelligently, is a strength, not a weakness. Empires rise through force, but they endure through systems. And Persia understood that before anyone else. The world remembers Rome as the greatest empire. But Rome ruled bodies. Persia ruled minds. And that may be the greatest conquest of all.